Guys, I am so stressed from the amount of filming and editing and traveling I've had this month, but then I decided and had an epiphany. Let's add on some more stress. As a car lover, an enthusiast, and just somebody who loves the culture, I decided to post on all my social medias, what is the worst car argument you've ever heard? Or I guess you could say hot take. You know when somebody is trying to act really smart and they say something so profoundly dumb that you're just like, side note, June 11th is T-Dib's Just Drift It, my very own drift event once again. The first one had 90 miles of available seat time for drivers. It was a ton of fun. And at the same time, we have a halftime show and stunt driving. So if you'd like to come down, here's the address, June 11th. Tickets will be sold at the gate if you just like to show up. Without further ado, let's get to arguing. That front wheel drive is best for drifting because the power is at the front wheels. Okay, I want to make it absolutely clear. Sliding a front wheel drive car is not drifting. It might power slide or you might do a adorable little e-brake turn. Most car people know that, but when a non-car person's like, yeah, I like totally drifted my Honda Civic the other day, bro. And you're like, dude, shut the fuck up. Next is respect all builds. Different people have different budgets, but having enough taste to not stick to the entire AutoZone bargain bin to your dirty car costs nothing. Okay, I think it's fair to respect people. And I grew up in the South of the United States, and basically you're taught to respect people until they give you a reason not to. At least that's how my family raised me. And it takes a lot for me to disrespect someone. Basically, should you respect car people? Of course, but taste is a different thing. Also, there's a great Facebook page called I'm Tired of Respecting All Builds. We should do a deep dive on that for a video someday. But yeah, just don't give off that ultimate energy, man. Have some taste, look up some builds online and go, what do I want to go for? Even if it is on a budget, do some research. Don't just jump to conclusion that more stuff on your car is better. Especially when you're a teenager and you just want to do stuff to your car, you get a little eager and it just turns out being tacky. Weaving in and out of traffic makes you a driver. 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, when somebody has told me I'm a good driver, I refuse to get in the passenger seat with that person. Typically, it's the drivers who are like, yeah, I'm all right, but I'm learning every day at the track, or I'm learning to drift better, I'm learning to do a track better and get faster times. The more humble people are usually the safer ones because they understand the risk. A lot of people, when they say, I'm a good driver, usually are absolutely terrible, and it's just a catastrophe. Yes, but weaving in and out of traffic, you're just an idiot. Plain and simple. Rookie says that girls are only into cars for male validation. Okay, I'm gonna make it very clear. As you can imagine, this YouTube channel has a basically male-dominated audience. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Are there women in the car scene who do it for the wrong reasons? Yeah. Are there men who do it for the wrong reasons? Yeah, girls in the car scene have it tough. I don't care what anybody says, especially the ones who are legit. It seems like a lot of people give them more of a hard time, which is just silly. Personally, I think the more women in the car scene, the better. A good friend of mine, Joanna, or 1320 chick, she is super cool. She's the real deal. She drag races, does everything really well. #1 rule of car culture: don't pretend you know everything. Whether you're a dude or a chick, whatever, if you're just there to learn, I encourage it. Takeovers are cool, and when in reality, they ruin meat spots. Anyone who thinks they are cool has smooth brains. For some reason, I don't know why, but anytime I get into a civilized conversation about this with people who go to these things, I tell them why it hurts the car scene, why you're affecting it, why you're making everybody look bad, and that being in the middle of nowhere, hooning around, and hooning in the middle of a downtown area with endangering other people are not the same thing. And also people who go to them and say that they're good drivers when they can just do this over and over again. And then they make the excuse of, oh, it's too expensive to go to a track. Well, I can tell you here in Atlanta, no, it's not. If you get pulled over for reckless driving in Atlanta, you're spending thousands upon thousands of dollars for your lawyer, your court fees, anything else. And then next thing you know, you don't have a car anymore. You don't have a license anymore. It's pretty blatantly clear I'm against them. But at the same time, there's gonna be somebody in the comment section go, oh my God, David, you say that, but you drive fast all the time. Yeah, in the middle of nowhere with nobody around. So if you wanna call me out on that, that's fine, but you're not gonna win this argument. Because if I'm a police officer and I go to a takeover and I'm not a car person, I'm gonna assume that all car people are the same, because it's a lot easier than doing it on a case-by-case basis. In other words, I could rant about this all day. I've even thought about making an entire video about this. If you would like, put it in the comment section below. But point of the matter is, I might lose subscribers when I call out takeovers, but I just think they're stupid and you shouldn't do them. Whenever someone says they prefer automatics because they're faster, but then they own an 03 but then they own a 03 350Z with a slush box of a transmission. Yeah, the automatic gearbox in the 350 is really bad. But that was always an argument for years and years and years. I drive an automatic because it's faster. But it would always be like some new edge Mustang V6 with its bumper falling off of some guy saying that. My first Cars and Coffee ever, that exact interaction happened. The exact interaction. It's not that manuals are faster or whatever. It's a preference thing. Nowadays, automatic gearboxes like PDK and Porsche, for example, they're maybe some of the best gearboxes ever made. But it's a preference thing. If somebody wants to drive an auto, let them drive a freaking auto. Stop making it such a big deal. Should we save the manuals? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what this is. Disregard. Point of the matter is, it's preference. Autos are a lot better than they used to be, and manuals are a lot better than they used to be. But yeah, it makes sense. Not the worst one I've heard, but this is what I believe in. Wide body kits such as Liberty Walk, Pandem, etc. do not look good. OEM or OEM Plus, and no wide body bolt-ons BS, 10 out of 10. I'm gonna be real with you. I am kind of over the riveted wide body scene, if that makes sense. I can't say too much because one of my cars that I've been building for a very long time has a riveted on rear quarter, but the front is a molded wide body. It just became kind of a cop-out for a build. Wide body bags, wide body bags. Like any car show you went to, especially on the West Coast, no offense, like it was always just wide body and bags, like every single time, especially at shows like SEMA, but that's the aftermarket. People are showing off their body kits. I get it. I do really appreciate just somebody subtly changing the body of a car. That's just my preference. OEM Plus, that's my favorite. Devin said there's no replacement for displacement. Yes, there is. It's called technology. Turbos, computers have gotten better, ECUs have gotten better. There is a replacement nowadays. The CVT is a simpler, more fuel efficient, and will outlast modern automatic transmission. Nissan in like 2008. This was the most liked one that I've seen all day. The CVT transmission, they're not enjoyable to drive whatsoever. They're usually in economy cars, and the only real experience I have with them is because I travel so much and I rent cars, and usually in my rentals, it's a CVT. Side note, I've always wanted to start like a TikTok or something where I'm like reviewing my rental cars because they're so bad some of the times. I already have enough on my plate when I'm the only guy running this YouTube channel, and yes, I know I'm an idiot for doing that. The CVTs, yeah, they're... I hate driving them. I absolutely hate driving them. So I'm on the side of Jesse here. Michael Elsa, awesome drifter, says all of them, literally all of them. Especially if you're like a professional driver. Could you imagine the stupid stuff you hear from your peers or fans or whatever? Just the amount of like, that's not true what you just said. That's not true what you just said. And not that being in the industry longer makes you know everything or a know-it-all, but there are times when people say things that are just blatantly untrue and you're just like, I'm just gonna let them have this one. It's not even worth the time. Nadir says, German cars are the most durable and luxurious cars. Okay, I will say durability-wise, Porsche is pretty hard to beat. But it's funny though, for some reason, when somebody says German cars, I don't think of Porsche first. And that's not because I don't love them. I love Porsche. But it's one of those things where my brain goes straight to BMW because that's where I've had the most problems. During reviews, BMWs historically in my experience, have had the most problems when it comes to going into limp mode or check engine lights or Christmas tree dashes or valve cover gaskets leaking, especially with like the E46 stuff where the valve covers tend to leak or something like that. But there's a really funny saying where somebody said, I don't trust engines that are mounted crooked. It's kind of like with the E92 M3s, right? The rod bearing issue. Like a lot of the German cars have that one thing that they have issues with. The old Audi S4 is having the timing chain issue. They all have like this real signature thing that has a lot of labor and a high cost to fix. And it's not saying that the American cars or the Japanese cars don't have that one thing that was notorious that breaks, but a lot of the times it's a lot more expensive, a lot more labor intensive to fix it for the German cars. So that's where it kind of comes to mind. How to pronounce Porsche correctly. Okay, a lot of people get really bent out of shape if somebody calls Porsche Porsche. And specifically when I got into the automotive industry, I said Porsche. And a lot of people judged me for it. A lot of people said, hey, you're saying it wrong. Like, you don't want to say it wrong around executives or marketing directors of, say, Porsche. So it's almost like learning a new language where you need to say it with that certain accent, right? And for some people, when people say Porsche, they go, man, that guy is pretentious. Here in America, we say Porsche. My buddy has a car that would smoke that thing. Yes, I'm gonna touch on this very briefly, but typically back in the day when I would go out to the night meets and stuff like that, like 10 years ago, if there was any kind of racing going on, it was almost never the drivers who would start the instigating. It was always the passengers or the buddy of mine talking for somebody else. And then they'd come up to me like, ready to go? I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't agree to anything. When people claim speeds faster than the gearing of the car allows, kind of like the Fast and Furious argument of Brian O'Connor putting nitrous in his car to get a higher top speed, even though he didn't change the gearing. Is it possible to go a little bit faster? Yeah, maybe, but not a lot. That is why the 1314 GT500 could go theoretically 200 miles an hour, but it was one of the most unusable cars because first gear would go like past 60 and then second went way up there above 100, I think, or near 100. I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong. It was really tall gearing. Acting like 0 to 60 times are the only important factor in a car. Yeah, 0 to 60, it really doesn't matter that much. You're never gonna translate that on paper unless it's something absolutely ridiculous that's under sub 3 seconds usually. Like those 2.2s to 2.6s, those are bananas. Like your body is just like, what is happening? Things like the Taycan Turbo S, the Porsche Turbo S, the 992, like Adams I drove. But if that is the only personality trait in a car that you can rely on, it's a one-trick pony. American cars can't corner. Yes, they can. It depends on the car, but yes, they can. The GT500 and the C7 ZR1 are some of the best handling cars I've ever driven on track. VQs produce the worst sounding trumpet known to mankind. I don't think that's a bad argument. I think that's an accurate argument if it's straight piped. A VQ that is straight piped, it's like, stop, please, no, God, please, no. Electric vehicles are better for the environment. Okay, so before I dig into this one, pun intended, the issue, in my opinion, with electric cars is that we're replacing one thing digging into the ground with another. It's just one bad thing for another as of right now. But one of the biggest arguments is the exhaust, right? With fossil fuels, you're producing more CO2 when you're burning and incinerating the gasoline. And then the electric cars are theoretically more recyclable. The batteries can maybe be recycled in the future, which is a better argument. But when you just blatantly say electric cars are better, no, they're just different. And it's what impact on the world is it gonna make? Are we just gonna be pessimistic and think, oh my God, like, what have we done? We didn't fix anything. On the other hand, highly recommend watching this video by Johnny Harris, incredible journalist. He talks all about the electric car versus the gasoline car argument, and it's a very fair argument. Bags are for groceries, and also Plasti Dip always looks like. Well, Rob is a great friend of mine. I love him to death. He was pretty much credited as the first ever bagged Mustang. I'm sure there was a whatever, but when it came to the Coyote cars, Rob was the guy. We're talking like 2010, 2011, and then this huge trend started of Coyote cars going on airbags. The thing is Static at this point, I just don't understand it anymore. Like I used to be like, yeah, you do you, but Static is just so undrivable that when you see people tow in or like trailer in their stance car to a car show, it's like, what was the point? Do I hate on them? No. Do I understand making your car so unfunctional to like a little bit of camber or whatever to make your car look good? Fine. But when you're like tucking this much, stretch tires, wheels poking out, and you had to trailer your car in, dude, come on. Like, what's that solve? Financing a car is always a terrible decision. Says people owning a clapped out trash heap. Financing a car is not a terrible idea. I'm telling you, as long as you know about credit, as long as you go in with your head held high and you're willing to negotiate, and at the same time, interest rate. Do not fall for high interest rate. That's the biggest thing. If you're able to get a decent interest rate and you have decent credit, the thing is about it is that that payment would be what you're using to fix the car or modify the car or just maintain the car. The thing about the white Mustang is that say you have a certain amount of dollars going into it, but it's reliable and it works all the time and you don't have to stress about all that and it has a warranty. That matters, I'm telling you. When it comes to my S chassis cars and my Civic and the Integra, you're dumping money. I mean, you're just flushing it down the toilet and it might not even work. Like that's what happens with my S chassis is that I basically have to do research and development to keep the car running, period. And you're spending 3 times, 4 times over a car payment. That's not the answer people want to hear when you're building project cars, but it's kind of the reality. Like skateboarding, the car community is full of posers. Clout chasers ruined the market and scene. So there was always clout chasing in car culture. It just is a lot more visible now because of these. Social media changed car culture forever. Back in the day, you were building a car for one reason and one reason only. You. I just like having project cars that I like. I don't do it for anybody else. And I just happen to share the video of it. On Instagram, on social media, all of that stuff, you bet. People do that all the time. They build cars for the likes. That's not a question. It's still not smart to gatekeep. Nobody likes gatekeeping. And are there posers? Yeah, probably. But I can tell you that it's pretty much not affecting the car scene as a whole that much, in my opinion. The posers to me are the people going out doing donuts in intersections and claiming that they're street racers and cars. Ah, it's so annoying. But the moment you get those people to an actual drift track, oh, what's the problem? You can't go both ways? If you want to gatekeep, then push people in the right direction and then they'll do the right things, or hopefully, but you gave them your advice, you tried. It's kind of like a band, right? Like when somebody's like, I heard this band before anybody else, bro. It's not rims, it's wheels. Okay, I'm kind of guilty of this one, but it's a generational thing. My dad calls them rims. A lot of people call them rims. It's like with my wheel cleaner, for example, from Patterson Car Care, shameless self-promotion. My wheel cleaner is some of the best in the business, and a lot of people go, hey, I need something to clean my rims. I go, here's some wheel cleaner, here's some Brake Dust Pro, and they go, oh, it's for my rims. What are the wheels? Because a lot of people associate the tire and the rim to be the wheel, not just the wheel itself. So you kind of have to break it down for some people, but yeah, whatever. At this point, I just don't care enough. Guys, what is the worst car argument you've ever heard in your life? Put it down in the comments section below. And on that note, I upload on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, and I'll see you guys next time. And take it easy. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye. Big announcement. Super proud to announce my first ever merch collection over at ThatDudeinBlue.com with designs I'm super proud of. So for my first ever collection, make sure to head over to ThatDudeinBlue.com and consider supporting the channel. And thanks so much for the support.